doing? It's good to see you, Brad.
Okay, we're ready? First question is going to refresh my memory. Who did you agree with? I believe you're going to go first. You're number two. Okay, so Jeff, this question's for you. You'll get 2 minutes to respond. The Hatmaker will get 2 minutes. You'll get 1 minute of rebuttal. And then this Hatmaker will get 1 minute rebuttal to that. And then we'll move on to the individual questions. Okay? So the question is, what is your idea of best practices when it comes to hiring top-level county administrators and establishing their pay level? I'm going to pass the microphone on.
Best practices, and that's something that we've wrestled a lot with in the last 3 years because it was done much differently more than 3 years ago. I am very proud to say that in the last 3 years we have completely changed the way we hire top-level department heads from a family and friends program to a national search. When I got elected, the HR department had never heard of Monster.com. They didn't know what it was. So for all of us say, seriously, these are resources that you would go to for top-level people. In the 3 years that I've been there, we've had to hire a director of finance, we've had to hire a director of legal, we've had to hire a director of information technology, I'm probably forgetting somebody, we've had at least a director of emergency preparedness. In searching for those people, we do a national search. I'll talk about the director of IT most recently. We're very proud to say we did a nationwide search, and the winning candidate lived in League City. That was great, but it typically doesn't work out like that. As far as compensation, we have to be competitive with the Houston market. The Galveston County is so close, as you know, that you can drive to Houston. So if a county, a director of county legal, for example, is the equivalent of an in-house counsel for a 1,300 employee company, we've got to be competitive in that range. Not necessarily dollar for dollar, but at least close. We will not get the kind of talent we want and deserve in the county if we don't pay market rates for the people in those types of positions. And again, you have to equate it to a 1,300 employee company that has, that 1,300 employee company, what would they be paying in the greater Houston market?
Well, I respectfully disagree because the hiring practices have not been followed. The Galveston County does not follow its own policies. We have a county legal that came from one of our commissioners' previous law firms. We do still have a Friends and Family program. Our Sheriff's Department is the lowest paid in the region, and they leave us to go to other departments. So we're not following our own policies, and we are not competitive. I can't tell you how many times I've heard county employees tell me that they want to leave, or they will leave, or they have left because of the pay scale. I've had females tell me that they feel like they have no room for growth, and they feel like there is no respect for the women employees. So our Galveston County needs to improve in several areas, and the first area is to follow its own policy and to learn how to do the appropriate pay scales for each of the positions.
Some people made a connection to Commissioner Denner and our Director of Legal. They worked at the same law firm together 20 years ago, but the Director of Legal came in from somebody other than Commissioner Denner. In fact, when I brought up his name, he said, I need to see his resume. I think I know him. So it's not the same as having to come to him, to come to us from Commissioner Denner.
My understanding is that particular position was never posted. We also have one of the members of the Galveston County Republican Party that is now in your office, actually. There are several instances where it still is a Friends and Family program, and it is an inner circle of certain people, and that is documented. It's not something that I'm making up.
Judge will have 2 minutes to respond. She'll have 1 minute to go.
Mr. Henry, you claim to be a fiscal conservative, but the reality is that you're a part-time county judge making a full-time salary. You claim to be a fiscal conservative, but your department, your commissioner's court, got a 12% increase in your budget. You claim to be a fiscal conservative, but you gave your appointed county attorney, not voted on by commissioner's court, a $140,000 salary increase over 4 years. And finally, you claim to be a fiscal conservative, yet the county is involved in more litigation than ever before. So please tell me, or rather let's tell the audience, what your definition of a fiscal conservative is.
My definition of a fiscal conservative is the guy sitting here who's delivered you 3 straight years of tax rate cuts, 3 straight years of shrinking government, and 2 years of paying off public debt early. The specifics that were cited here are largely inaccurate. The director of people makes more than $120,000 a year because we have to be competitive with the Houston market. As far as the salaries of the Commissioner's Court, we've actually decreased the amount of staff we have at the Commissioner's Court and decreased the level of salaries. Inherited from the previous administration, the director, or my chief of staff was making, I want to say $110,000 or thereabouts. We no longer have a chief of staff. We have 2 deputy chiefs of staff who split that salary. So we're getting 2 times the people for about the same salary. And again, I would like to point out that several commissioners combined their staff, so they no longer have a single dedicated administrative assistant.
We may have seen a cut in our effective tax rate, but I don't know about you. I can't say that I wrote a smaller check this year. Our revenues have increased over $3 million. The county judge's office received a 22% pay increase. Our sheriff's department received a 2.3% pay increase. You tell me if that's conservative.
The city of Galveston is kind of embedded in a public housing debate. 2 of your supporters, at least, are big proponents of moving public housing off the island onto the mainland. So could you please tell for the record what your position is on public housing on the island versus the mainland?
I think at this time it's very difficult to claim a position. We're waiting on several factors to play into this whole situation. Being in real estate, I have to be very careful to not steer. I have to be very careful to adhere to fair housing laws. So it's highly inappropriate for me to make any particular comment regarding where housing should or shouldn't be. I can have my license revoked for that.
So we can't get a yes or no?
It's not a matter of having a yes or no. There will be decisions that will be made for me and for our community. And until then, I am not allowed to respond to that. And as a former licensed real estate salesperson, you actually know that.
But I can answer the question.
I do have a follow-up question. Public safety is one of the major, if not the most important roles of government. In your opinion, I'm going to ask Ms. Hatmaker first. Is our sheriff's department properly funded as a whole department?
Actually, I just had that conversation with our sheriff today, coincidentally. And he does not feel that our sheriff's department is properly funded. He has to beg for vehicles. He had to ask for money for our deputies to have funds for ammunition. Now, I don't know about you, but if my 80-year-old grandmother is getting robbed and there's burglary going on in her home, I want to know that we're not, Smokey and the Bandit, that our vehicles are going to be able to get there. These young people come to our department. We are a training department. They leave us to go to other departments that pay more. So I do not think that we are currently funding our sheriff's department like we should.
The sheriff called me shortly after that meeting this afternoon to tell me, Judge, you gave me everything we asked for, so thank you very much. The issue of salaries in the sheriff's department is too complex for us to have settled during this one budget cycle. The sheriff and I have committed to working together to work on a parity plan for the sheriff's department over the coming year, because it'll take at least that long, if not longer. As far as the broader question of public safety, I was a strong advocate of doubling the number of dispatchers we have from 2 to 4. I was a strong advocate of getting a DWI compliance officer. First time we've ever had this, and it's had a tremendous effect on DWI cases in the county court of law courts, because people no longer are left to show up on their own. They have a compliance officer after them, and they want that interlock taken off their car that we ordered them to put on there. So I have done several things that I think are very enhancing in the public safety arena. Very proud of that, and we will continue to move forward. Also, we kept 3 full-time investigators who were scheduled to be unfunded. We kept them in this budget cycle.
And I have one more follow-up question. Obviously, there's some disagreement about whether the department is properly funded or not. So I'm going to ask the question, if you were to reapportion funds, how would you reapportion funds in the county to the different services? And the same question will be asked of the judge.
Not being in the position at this time, it's very difficult for me to answer that. I don't want to make any promises or assumptions or statements that I can't possibly uphold. It takes being in the position and working with the department heads to determine the best use of all funds.
Quick question. If you were to reapportion the funds, basically from your position, how would your next 4 years, how would it look budget-wise?
Oh, okay, how will the next 4 years look budget-wise? Largely, as they've looked for the past 3 years, we take critical looks at all departments, but I can't stress how time-consuming it is to go through a department, because no one wants to say, my job is total nonsense, you should fire me. So we have to go through and get a sense for, does this person deliver a service to the taxpayer that the taxpayer should be paying for? And the golf cart driver and the Tai Chi instructor, that yes, we actually had those and let them go, were not services that you, the taxpayer, should be paying for. As far as allocation of resources, we've done a tremendous job of that. We have outsourced several services, such as social services, where we were spending $1 for every dollar of direct aid we gave out. That would maybe cover 60 Minutes or a magazine if we were in a nonprofit. We shifted that over to a faith-based nonprofit. We increased the amount of direct aid given out and cut the expense to the county to almost 0. So taking a critical look at all of these, and again, starting with the Sheriff's Department and this calendar, your calendar 2014, will help us better align the resources we have available.
Now, if you both give us a 1-minute closing statement, we'll be concluding this section of the debate.
Well, first of all, I do want to say thank you for being here tonight and thank you for this opportunity. You know, I, like you, believe in Galveston's rich history, and I look forward to its promising future. I think we're all tired of the Obama-like half-truths that we're getting from some of our commissioners and our current county judge. We're tired of seeing administrative pay increases, budgetary flops, flip-flops. I guess that was a Freudian slip. But budgetary flip-flops. It's time that we really get down to brass tacks and get back to what this whole group ran on in 2010, and that's transparency and accountability. We need that, and that is what I stand for.
Thank you. I think everyone here knows my background. I spent 21 years in the Air Force. I retired as a military officer, and that's what really formed my public service. The Air Force has 3 core values: service before self, integrity first, and excellence in all you do. I bring those core values to the county job, and I think I have done that job very well for 3 years. We've taken a critical look at things that have never been looked at before. Most recently, we looked at our insurance policies. They've never been looked at before. Even the people on the commissioner's court that have been there a long time said, I don't recall ever having done this. But what we have accomplished in 3 years of hard work is 3 straight years of tax rate cuts. When I got elected, your tax rate was about 0.63. Today it's 0.5895. Nobody can argue that's a tax rate cut. We have a smaller government. When I got elected, we had 1,300 employees. Today we have 1,184, and we reduced the public debt by 18% over the last 2 years, paying off bonds early, refinancing at near 0% interest rates.
Can we get a hand from both of our candidates, please?